Welcome to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. I'm JJ Flazanes, your host. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for downloading today's show. I'm super excited because today is a brand new show. And what I mean by that is a lot of my shows are some of my favorite shows that I republish here from my original show, Fit to Love. So I am the host of the Fit to Love podcast, physical, emotional, and spiritual fitness for the happy life you deserve. And in order to test out and get some metrics on which one of my 6 days of the week of this Fit to Love podcast show was the most popular, what it was of most interest to people, I wanted to take and republish all 6 days as their own show. And here we are with Spirit, Purpose, and Energy, which was originally Freedom Friday. So I have a ton of shows from Freedom Fridays that get repurposed here because the information's great. I'm getting great feedback from you guys on the information, and you can more easily find me under this channel for the information that you're actually looking for, because you may not be interested in the alternative medicine and the other information that I talk about on the Fit to Love podcast show, which is why we have Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. And the good news is that this channel will continue. Once the published shows from Fit to Love are here, we will start re-recording brand new content with very exciting information and guests coming to you. But here's what's really cool about today. Today is a brand new show, never been recorded before. It is a solo show with me because I have something I want to talk about and something that I think will be of interest to you on the heels of a brand new book I just published. That actually, this information is not even in that book, but it is allowing me to realize that you're interested in more. You want more. So I have been not publishing for a couple months. I put out a new book, my third book, called The Invisible Fitness Formula: 5 Secrets to Release Weight and End Body Shame. And we did very well. We were number 2 on the Amazon bestseller list for women's health and number 2 on Amazon for hot new release in women's health the day that we launched. So it was a super fun, exciting time. There's videos up on, there's a playlist up on my YouTube channel, jjflazanes.tv, with lots of testimonials about the book, people that I've worked with that helped content create some of the things in the book and inspired the book. So I invite you to come over and check that out if you watch videos on YouTube. Again, that's jjflazanes.tv. But today's topic is astrology and weight loss. I have never done a show on astrology and weight loss. And something hit me the other day about Invisible Fitness Formula, which underneath the Invisible Fitness brand, I still can do anything spiritual because it's invisible. Invisible forces are at play in your life, in your body all the time. And it's funny, sometimes clarity comes in unique times, right? Have you ever been doing something and all of a sudden you get this really clear idea or thought, or the situation just becomes clear in that moment and you're not trying, it just happens when it's supposed to happen. When you aren't focused on it, it appears. And that's what happened. I realized that I always, especially now in the last 2 to 3 years, but even with clients 12 years ago, use astrology with my clients. And I never tell anybody that I do it. I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm different, but I don't talk about it. So I wanted to explain for those of you who are clients and listening to this, but I'm sure you already know. And for those of you that do astrology and wonder, how can I utilize this in my life in more tangible ways that are more than just psychological, why I think astrology is absolutely necessary when putting your self-care plan together. Because you have chosen to incarnate in this lifetime in a certain blueprint of energy. That would be your astrological chart. In your chart, it's like a recipe, right? You can see that there are many different chocolate cakes in the world and they all taste different, but they're all chocolate cake. So what's the difference from one cake to the next cake? Well, it's ingredients. Well, you have ingredients. That's called your astrological chart. Those energies combine to make you who you are. And understanding them and working with those energies and not beating yourself up. I think a lot of shame comes from not understanding who you are in this life and where you came from, where you're going, what the lessons are you need to learn, and why you're built the way that you're built. For a long time when I was younger, I was the queen of being a victim, first of all. So any of you who knew me when I was in grade school or high school, I remember because I was so obviously hurt all the time. If you hurt my feelings, I'm a Pisces, so I'm very sensitive. But if you hurt my feelings, I would tell you about it and I would tell you why and how you hurt my feelings and basically tell you not to do that anymore. And this show is not about victim mentality. although I've got plenty of those, and maybe I'll republish them here. But they're on Thoughtful Thursdays on the Fit to Love podcast, so fit2love.tv, and check out all about victim and rescuer tendencies and persecutor tendencies and how that shows up in your family and all those dynamics. So that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother level. And I'm like an excavator. There are so many levels at play in your being, and understanding them can help you to release shame and to work with who you are and what works for you. Of course, there are things out there that work for some people, and some of it may be good science and bad science, or not even science. It could be mythological science, which happens all the time in my industry. People make crap up all the time and feed it to you, and you go, oh yeah, I should do this exercise or this thing, and you're not being told the whole story. And why does it work for that person and not work for another person? Well, this is why we're on the astrology conversation, and I'm going to try not to digress too much and to bring it all into one whole big package. But if you're someone who knows astrology is important, but you haven't worked with it yet, or you feel like you beat yourself up all the time and you have shame about your personality or about your habits or about your limiting beliefs, this show is for you. And please also, if you enjoyed today's show, I would love a rating and review at the end of it, because I want more people to feel less shame. I want more people to understand who they really are on a huge, broad level, not who your parents were and where you grew up and what you do for a living. I'm talking about who you are in this universe, who you are as a physical being, and who you decided to express yourself as in this lifetime. I'm going to give you a couple examples, and I'm going to explain astrology to you. So there, in your recipe ingredient list, there are many different planets. And off the top, I'm going to say I'm not an astrologer. I don't even know how one becomes an astrologer, if there's a school for it or not. But I've been studying astrology for about 20 years. And how I use astrology is exactly in the way that I'm going to share with you today. I use astrology to help people understand energetic patterns, beliefs, ways of looking at the world, and things, how they resonate and vibrate with you. And in working with those energies, to be compassionate about them, to work with them, not against them, to not judge yourself for them, to accept them for as they are, because you chose it. You chose to come in this lifetime as this person. So what is it about your personality and how you interpret information, how you interpret feelings, how you look at the world, how you interact with others, what is of value to you? I think that's all very valuable. So for instance, one of the planets that I encourage people to look at is where your Venus is. What sign is in Venus for you? And as a Pisces is the last of the 12 signs. So we are the combination and accumulation of everybody's good stuff and everybody's bad stuff. And someone might say that the Pisces, if you're an Aries, you might say the Pisces is the toilet bowl of the signs, which an Aries was the one who actually, the contrast of her being, like how she would talk about me as a Pisces, was actually what got me interested in astrology. So thank you, Kelly, from years and years and years ago, for being such an arrogant pain in my butt, that it made me want to learn about the good aspects of being a Pisces, because her description of us was very bad. And now, in retrospect, it's quite the opposite. She was a typical Aries. And that's not to say any of you Aries out there are like her, but there are traits that she represented that I appreciate, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be where I am today with this information. And I'm at peace with so many things. So the first thing I'm going to say is, so as a Pisces is the last of the signs. I'm very gray. I look at the world, rarely a time where there's a hard and fast, like right and wrong for me. Like I won't say like that's just wrong, because I recognize that we're all different. And in fact, if it wasn't for astrology, I was very judgmental about people. I thought that people were insensitive and stupid, because I could not understand why I would look at something, be really moved, maybe even tears or like, oh my gosh, and upset, and why other people looking at the same situation were not reacting the same as I. I would be like, what is wrong with them? And then astrology explained to me how that they look at something different than I do. So of course, if they look at it different and they interpret different, they're going to feel different about it. So astrology really opened me up to being a lot more compassionate and empathetic to everybody, and to understand that everyone sees through a different set of eyes and through a different set of interpretations and funnels, if you will, right? So it's like it's like the glasses, right? If you have on a pair of sunglasses and they're purple, or someone else has yellow, or someone else has red, it's going to reflect back at you a different way of seeing things. And if you change the color glasses, then things change, right? So it's how we interpret things, how we hear them. Back when I was single and with one of my last relationships as being single, we were in flux. And I know this is about weight loss and I'm getting there. So we're in flux and I want to know, I found myself being extremely impatient about needing an answer to were we together or were we not? I got a little crazy about that. And I looked at myself and thought, what is your problem? Like, why can't you just be? Because the rest of me was all gray and go with the flow and not have to define or label something, or not even wanting to define or label something. And it took me like 6 months of being very frustrated. And in retrospect and like reflection of my behavior, I thought, what is wrong with you? Why do you need to know? Like, what's the thing about, like, why can't you just be? Why do you have to have why do you have to have a yes or a no about whether or not you're together? So I looked at my chart, and Venus is how you deal with love. And my Venus was in Aries. So right then and there, I'm like, oh, well, now that makes a lot of sense, and now I understand. And when I could embrace that, when I can understand with it, I could work with it so that I could heal it and make peace with it and ask for what I need to satisfy it and make decisions based on how it serves me. So when it comes to releasing weight and emotional eating and exercise, we'll start with the emotions first. Your astrological blueprint really can tell me and you a lot about how you feel or don't feel emotions. And a lot of times people are very detached from their bodies. People use food or substances to repress feeling something uncomfortable, because if you're not a water sign, or maybe even if you are a water sign, there's so much emotion there that it scares you. So there are different expressions within astrology that can lead us to understand more about how to break those patterns, how to add things into your life that support your processing of emotions so that you don't try to repress them, so that you're comfortable in them, so that you can release them, so that you can connect with your body and you can use your intuition on a deeper level. And when we look at your different elements, the elements will tell us information about what's easy for you, and what's something you need to learn, or what in this lifetime. There's another planet. It's called your soul sign. It's your true node or your north node. And that planet tells us what this lifetime is for you. What's the lesson of this lifetime? There's a whole book. Jan Spiller's Astrology of the Soul is literally about that one planet, that one ingredient in your chocolate cake of yourself, of your energy. And that goes over what you're here to learn, and what you're good at, your strengths, your weaknesses, what the bottom line is, and how to work with that. So there's so much that I'm not going to finish it all in this show. But astrology and weight loss. I'm going to give you the 5-cent astrology lesson that I've done on other shows before, and I may have repeated it in the future depending on which shows get published here from Freedom Friday. There are 4 elements. So the most important thing to know, there are 12 signs. There are 4 elements. And the elements all have energy. And working with those energies, they all have sort of shadow sides and light sides. They all have weaknesses and strengths. They all fit into the puzzle very nicely and needed, and they all create balance when they're all together. Having too much of one planet or one kind of element, it will, can cause imbalance. So for instance, years ago, I had a client in Orange County. He was a mortgage broker, and he was a Scorpio, and we got along famously because Pisces and Scorpio is a good sun sign energy combination. We're both water signs. However, he was so anxious and he had so much pent up emotion. And I also know he had a lot of repressed anger now in retrospect. But back then, I didn't do astrology right then and there, but it took me a little while of training him that I finally had to. He said to me that his therapist had said to him, don't you ever, when do you shut down? When do you shut off? And he said, what do you mean shut off? I don't shut off. I don't even know what that means. I never shut off. I'm always going. And I thought, okay, he can't be a Scorpio, because a Scorpio energy would retreat and reflect and look and study and analyze and wait for the perfect moment. And he's always go, 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 go. Now, yes, he's a sun sign Scorpio. But when I did his chart, he had at least 5 planets in Sagittarius. And Sag is a fire sign. Fire is energy. So, of course, he had all of this energy. I mean, he was mostly Sag. So it made complete sense that he couldn't or didn't know how to slow down or stop. Now, with that, when someone has that much fire in them, you need to use it. That's your body telling you you have to use it. So now exercise and burning off that energy becomes a necessary part of you feeling calm and peaceful, about you not repressing emotion and releasing anxiety. It's not about, like for me, going rollerblading these days is about connecting with my spirit and my body in an easy, flowing kind of way where I get downloads. My subconscious, my inner being, my connection to source becomes very clearly through me when I'm rollerblading. And it's not about the exercise. So for me, the benefit becomes I need to go do it more because I want to be more in alignment. I want to be more in my body. I want to be more connected and balanced. Not just because exercise. In fact, doing it for exercise doesn't even motivate me. But doing it for spiritual alignment and connection, I did it 4 times last week because I realigned with that truth. So when you understand the energies at play within your quote unquote chocolate cake then you know how to utilize them, how to maximize them, how to balance them. And it can make sense of why you're dealing with anxiety or emotional eating because you're just trying to repress all this energy that wants to come out of you and you don't have an outlet for it. So astrology, to me, is a no-brainer, but I've been doing consults and adding astrology in for years and never talking about it. So today's show is a brand new content for everyone, everywhere that I'm going to share for this very reason that this is a big spiritual aspect, whether you believe it or not. I've used it with people who I don't even ask. I just start doing it because to me, it's truth. To me, it's the ingredients of who you are. You are more than what you appear to be. You're more than your sun sign. You're more than the family you came from. I'm sure there are aspects of your personality. Anyone that has children can say very quickly that your child, whether it be in the womb or within the first week, had a personality. Well, they didn't get that from you. They came into the world like that. And the more we can work with that, the more you can heal things. So I'll say one more thing about my sort of astrological makeup and how I transformed and healed something. So being a Pisces, being very sensitive, growing up, I would feel kind of like a punch in my gut, that I would feel like if someone quote unquote hurt my feelings, which by the way, you're never going to hear me say that anymore because that's not true. No one can ever hurt your feelings. What they can do is trigger an old wound you already have, or they can mirror a negative belief you have about yourself, which hurts you because you believe it, not because they said it. Because when someone else judges you, first of all, it's their problem, not yours. But when someone else wants to hurt you or say something hurtful, if it's not true, you won't even feel anything. You won't even listen. Have you ever been in that situation where somebody says something negative to you and it doesn't even faze you because you know it's not true? But if someone else says something that hurts your feelings, it's because you believe it. You either believe it or you have fear around it or somebody else put it in there and there's a trauma. So anyway, I was always feeling sort of a punch in my gut about like somebody hurt my feelings or something. And I didn't like that because it felt very victimizing. It felt like, oh. So what I did was I looked at my chart, and of course I'm a Pisces, and that's probably in my sun sign, and I recognize Pisces are very emotional, or water signs. We're the 12th sign. We have everybody's good stuff and everybody's bad stuff. We're slightly psychic, if not very psychic. We feel lots of things. We're very intuitive and super, super, super sensitive. Well, I thought, how do I work with this? I don't want this to be a bad thing. People will tell you that you're oversensitive. You're too sensitive. See, I don't believe in those terms. There's no you are what you are. Work with what you are. Embrace what you are. Learn how to be with it. So I wanted to acknowledge and accept that I'm sensitive. Okay, I'm sensitive. So I thought, I'm not going to change. Maybe I'm not going to change the punch in the gut. Maybe I can't control how I react to somebody and interpret somebody else's words or energies when directed at me. But what I can do is, after I feel that initial punch in my gut, I can decide how to interpret that. I can decide what to do about that. I can decide the conversation and the story I tell myself after I hear it or after I receive it. Because I'm sure if any of you can relate to that punch in the gut feeling of someone quote unquote hurting your feelings, what happens next is you tell a story. You tell a story that probably isn't true at all. that you don't verify, that you play all the roles in. You play the role of the person who punched you in the gut. You play the role of yourself, and and you make up this whole story, and it could go on for days and days or years and years. And it's what you tell yourself over and over again that you end up anchoring in your subconscious. So I decided that, okay, so I get punched in the gut. I'm going to take a beat after that happens. I'm going to take a breath, and then I'm going to decide how to interpret that. I'm going to decide what to do about that. And once I did that, once I accepted that I was sensitive and that I wasn't going to change that, and that had benefit to me, and that was a good thing, and here's what to do about it, I'm telling you, I've only felt that punch in the gut in the last 15 years once or twice. I recognized that I transformed that. Maybe like last year, I was talking to another very sensitive Pisces friend, and I realized I don't get that anymore. And it's because I healed it. I mean, I've also been doing other healing work, but I thought, what a great story to share with people about utilizing and accepting and making peace with who you are, but then also understanding all of what's at play. So that's a little bit of hopeful storytelling for you to let you know that I do not believe that nothing can't be healed, or that something can't be healed or transformed. I don't believe that at all. I believe everything can be. If you are willing and to take the dive, or you are willing to learn something new, or you are willing to have faith in yourself and the reason why you're here, and that love exists and that healing exists, I believe you can heal anything. But that's my belief. So let's talk about astrology, just to give you a brief overview of things that you can work with right now from what I'm telling you, and so that you understand yourself on a little bit deeper level. First and foremost, you can do your own chart. You can do it for free. You go to astro.com and do a free profile. What I always pull up is the personality profile, and I just jump down to the planets. That's what I look at. I don't even read what's in there. When I hand it to people or have them do it, I disclaim that I didn't write it, and so it may resonate with you, it may not, it may be accurate, it may not. I look at the planets and then take it from there. Astro.com, it's free. Let's talk about astrology quickly. I don't like the wheel. I don't like when people think that it just kind of keeps going around and around and around. It doesn't keep going around and around. That doesn't help you understand what astrology is and how you can work with it. Astrology to me is a straight line. It is a beginning and an end, and then it starts over in the straight line, because it starts with Aries, it ends with Pisces, and every sign evolves into the next sign. So you have to have a starting point and an ending point. Starting point is Aries. Aries, Sagittarius, and Leo are all fire signs. And fire is about energy. Fire is about movement. Okay? So movement, physical movement, energy. That's Aries. And fire signs in general, just all fire signs. Then we're just gonna go over the elements first. So there's the fire. Then we have Taurus is the second sign, and that's Earth. And Earth is very stable. Earth is secure, stable, reliable, dependable. Earth can also be stubborn and unchanging and unwilling to change or be formed in a different way. Earth people also usually take a long time to change habits, because the habitual nature of our being and of our environments are very much earth qualities, earth traits, liking things to be the same, liking certain things to be repetitive and reliable and something you can expect. Next, we have Gemini is the third sign, and Gemini are the twins, and most people, and the reason why Gemini is called the twins is because Gemini doesn't know whether or not it needs to be Aries or Taurus. That's why Gemini is number 3. Now, Gemini becomes a whole new sign, of course, that incorporates Aries and Taurus and then has its own traits. Geminis are air. Air. Think about air and the energy of air. Air is not containable. Air is not, yes, we have tornadoes and we have some, winds, but then we have really still air. In terms of energy, air is sort of scattered and all over the place and all encompassing. So that's the energy of air. And then we move into Cancer as the fourth sign. Cancer is a water sign. Water is about emotion. And think about the energy of water, right? The moon controls the ocean and the water. And also we're made up of 2/3, if not 3/4 of our body weight in water. So don't underestimate your astrological signs and emotions being governed by the planets. And that's why the moon's position affects the size of the waves. Think about that. the energy of the planets affect what's going on inside of you, and how, if there's a tidal wave happening inside of you, or if you're calm and still, those energies all affect each other. So water can be very deep and still, can be, tidal wave and very aggressive. Those are the 4 elements, and those are the first 4 signs. Now, those are I put astrology, that line of 12, it gets divided into 3 sections. The first section we'll call the least developed. Those are the first planets. Then the second section just repeats itself. It goes fire, earth, air, and water. That would be Leo, Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio. All right, that's the second stage of these elements, and they're more developed than the first stage. And each sign evolves into the next one. So Aries is the infant of the signs. Aries normally is very much about black, white, like 2 choices: black, white, left, right, wrong, yes, no. And there's not a lot of levels of different processing. So sometimes Aries can be frustrated that they need to put things in 1 or 2 boxes, and they don't understand gray. That's why with my relationship example of Venus and Aries, it was either yes or no. Like, I did not have a third option. I couldn't process past that. I mean, I could intellectually, but emotionally, I needed an answer. So my energy wanted to be settled in one or the other camp. All right, so then there's the third stage, again, of the elements that repeat themselves, which again are fire, earth, air, and water. And at that point, we've got Sag, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. And those are the most developed, more complex in the chart. Now, understanding these, again, can help you make decisions about what is right for you, for your food, how to think about how you eat, how to process emotions, what you need help with in terms of emotions and getting in your body, whether you're out of your body. If you're an air sign and you've got a lot of air, then you have the capacity to live sort of above in your head and outside of your body and not be in your body a lot. Air signs they love big picture thinking. Air signs are about thinking. Okay, so I said that fire is about movement and energy, so physical movement. Air is about thinking, big picture thinking, thoughts, concepts, stuff that's big and broad. Then we move into earth signs. Earth signs, like I said, are about stability. So sometimes it shows up in terms of finances or repetitive behaviors or environmental situations which keep repeating themselves, or feel like, I like to think that earth signs like their boxes. They love to know where everything is. They feel safe and secure when everything's in its right place. That's what's comforting to an earth sign. Now, on the flip side, some of the other signs would feel the opposite. Like for me, when I've got a lot of Sagittarius and Pisces, my fire and my water says if I even see a box, I'm running in the opposite direction, because that to me is lack of freedom. And I'm all about freedom and movement and expression. And so a box gives me anxiety because then I feel trapped. So again, interpretation of using astrology is, I couldn't function without it. I really could not. I feel like I'm more effective with it. And I think it's hilarious that I've been training for 20 years. I've been doing astrology with people for at least 10, if not longer, 12 years. I've been doing consultations with it constantly for the last at least 5 years. And I haven't told anybody that I do that. So thank you for listening to this show. And I hope that something that I said today is of interest to you and maybe sparked sort of an idea for you about why. Obviously, I couldn't go over every single scenario and combination of energies and signs and planets that would let you figure out on your own what the right choice is for you. But hopefully, maybe you had some idea today. And if nothing else, what I want you to take away from today is that you incarnated in this lifetime as this being with these traits, with these ingredients, and they're here to support you, and they want to be understood. They want to be understood and accepted. Every part of you wants to be understood and accepted. And I am all about getting rid of body shame. That is why the Invisible Fitness Formula, 5 Secrets to Release Weight and End Body Shame, is what it is. And it doesn't have any of this astrology stuff in it yet. The next book will, but I just wanted to make sure everybody understood, those of you that are interested in this, you can utilize this to release weight. You can utilize this to create the right kind of self-care regimen that works for you and works with your energies. It also can uncover where you need support because of the energies you're working with. And it's not a shameful, bad thing to ask for help. It's going to be necessary. And maybe that's part of what it is in this lifetime that you're here to learn. So I didn't stop to add any breaks today for sponsors because I just wanted to get this information out to you. Of course, I'm always a sponsor of my own show, so anyone who might be interested in having a astrological health analysis, that is what I do, and would love to work with you. You can go to fit2love.tv in the products section, and it's the one-on-one starter package that you want to purchase. It includes 2 sessions. The first one's 75 minutes and the second one is 45 minutes as a follow-up. And I don't talk about the astrology piece in the literature in the video, although I talk about spirituality. So I will be developing a page it's very specific for astrological health analysis, but it really is just the combination of the integration of mind, body, and soul, astrology, food, fitness, weight loss, health, longevity, and aging. So I hope today inspired you to look at your life a little differently, maybe go do your chart and start to make peace with and explore a little bit more about the energies that you came in with, and let that help you on this journey to the best life that you wanted to have here. Thank you for listening to today's show. Again, one more time, I please would remind you and ask you to leave a rating and review on iTunes, and to share the show with anyone that you know that struggles, that could use some more peace, use some healing in the areas of body shame and self-acceptance, and for someone who is interested in astrology that's never used it in their self-care routine before. So I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll be back with you again next week. Thank you again for tuning in to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. If you're inspired and want more, come on over to fit2love.tv and check out our Freedom Fridays, or find us on iTunes. More at Fit to Love, physical, emotional, and spiritual fitness for the happy life you deserve.